Welcome to the podcast, Hopeful Horizons, the bridge where hope and healing meet. Our mission is to create the environment and resources to get people across the bridge from the post-COVID experience to a future filled with hope. Please welcome our host, Holly Porter, founder of Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation.
Hi, everyone. Happy you're joining us today. You just share a little bit about long COVID. It seems to me that when we are asking people about it, including in the medical field, people are still asking what long COVID is. And for as long as it's been around, I mean, obviously COVID's only 4 years old, so many people have it. I just knew statistics that said 85 million documented cases. And prior to that, it was 65 million. And I got to thinking, we probably will never know because that's documented. And there's a lot of people that have long COVID that don't even realize they have it. It's just understanding what it is. And if you have symptoms that maybe started showing up since you had COVID and you just hadn't connected the dots, there's a lot of people in that category. And I think if we just connect the dots and work with our doctors, we will find that maybe that was where it got intensified. Sometimes we'll have things laying dormant in our bodies. There's over 200 symptoms linked now to long COVID. I think where they got, well, let me finish that thought. So it just catches those symptoms on fire, and anything that might have been a problem now is a huge problem, right? Like 10 times worse than it was prior, or it just woke it up in your system. There's a lot of rheumatoid arthritis going on. There's a lot of dementia. There's a lot of Alzheimer's coming from long COVID, people that have it that did not before, or it's worse. And I think if the statistics, going back to that thought, I believe that the 20 million more people all of a sudden now they're saying are documented cases. I think people are waking up a little bit and connecting the dots. Doctors are getting a little more informed, doing the research. That's been a huge challenge for a lot of people, is not having the right information and going to your doctor and then throwing their hands up like it's not a real thing. But if you're suffering, it's a real thing. I've had long COVID now since fall of 2021. I got hit pretty hard because I spent 70 days in the hospital. I was intubated 2 times. I had a trach, sepsis, a couple other infections. I was the extreme case. But I've had guests here on the podcast that barely had any symptoms, if any, and they have long COVID. No rhyme or reason to why all this has happened and why it affects some people differently. It's like it had no mercy. It picked the old, the young, and everyone in between. And that's how long COVID is. Their symptoms, people are all over the place. Think of how many dynamics there are with that. And there's some symptoms that are going to be a lot of people that are going to have, yes. And then there's new ones. And so I think it's just creating that awareness and figuring out how we can help. And that a little bit, I took some notes today that I wanted to share. And I just thought maybe we could just have that overview of a few of those things that I have found maybe to be helpful. Or if you're in that situation where you don't know, maybe you have it, maybe you don't, maybe you're a caretaker of somebody that has it. COVID was something that really affected everybody in the whole world. And I'm saying a lot on this podcast, I can't think of anything that affected the whole world so quickly as COVID in the history of the time. And everyone was affected at some point, whether you lost somebody, whether you got it, whether you had a loved one die of it, it affected everyone. It affected our home life. It affected our work life and our joy life, right? And our fun. It took a lot of our fun away for a lot of people. And there's just this ripple effect that's happening to our children and to people that are still suffering. So let's talk about the definition first of all. So they're calling long COVID post-acute sequela of SARS-CoV-2 infection, which is PASC as the acronym. It refers to a condition where individuals continue to experience symptoms of COVID-19 long after initial infection has resolved. And I've heard 60 days, like you're still having some of those symptoms 60 days after you've had a COVID infection. That's when you're you move over into that long COVID category. So symptoms can vary widely. Fatigue, shortness of breath, chest pain, joint pain, brain fog, and difficulty concentrating. Those seem to be the top symptoms that a lot of people have, and then all the others are just sprinkled out through. Long COVID can affect individuals of all ages, as I said before, including those who had just a mild case. So go back and listen to one of our podcasts. We had a guest that his wife was in the hospital for 4 months on an echo and a ventilator, had a baby while she was in there, and he tested positive. So he couldn't get anywhere around her. Of course, back then they weren't even allowing people in 2020 in the hospital at all. And he couldn't even do anything because he had COVID, but he didn't have any symptoms, but has long COVID now along with her. So it seems to be more common in women and older adults and individuals with pre-existing health conditions. They were a little more vulnerable. The exact cause of long COVID, nobody seems to fully understand. And that's why those who have long COVID are so frustrated. It's also believed that to be related to the body's immune response to the initial infection. No, because like I said, I would almost expect to have long COVID for as severe as my case was, but so many didn't and still have a lot of issues. Let's see, the COVID typically focuses on managing symptoms and improving quality of life, and it may include medications, physical therapy, and cognitive behavioral therapy. Long COVID can have a significant impact on individuals' daily lives, leading to disability, loss of income, and mental health challenges. And all of those I have known and experienced personally, and it's real. So anyone saying it's not real needs to come in the life of someone who lives in long COVID every day. Healthcare providers and researchers are working to better understand long COVID and develop effective treatments and interventions to support those affected by the conditions. Some studies suggest that individuals with long COVID may experience a phenomenon known as post-exertional malaise, where physical or mental exertion can exacerbate symptoms and lead to worsening of overall health. Long COVID has been recognized as a complex and multiple system condition affecting various organs and systems in the body. Remember, COVID affected every organ. It was a brain disease, but it affected every organ. I want to preface, I'm not a doctor that is giving medical advice. I'm just sharing my story and my perception and my research. And I want to disclaim that. It would affect organs including respiratory, cardiovascular, neurological, and gastrointestinal systems. Support groups and online communities have emerged to provide a platform for individuals with long COVID to share their experiences, seek advice, and connect with others facing similar challenges. Again, we have a nonprofit sponsoring this podcast called Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation, and you can look it up, adventurebucketwish.org. Contact us, get in touch. We do have a Facebook page called Adventure Bucket Wish. Go on there, support. That's really what it's for. There's a group actually Facebook for long COVID, and then there's a page just for everybody that wants to go on and like it. That would be great. We would love that support. Research is ongoing to better understand the long-term effects of COVID-19 and identify risk factors for developing long COVID. This includes studying the role of genetics, immune response, and viral persistence in the development of persistent symptoms. Long COVID has prompted discussions about the need for comprehensive post-COVID care programs to provide integrated and multidisciplinary support for individuals experience persistent symptoms. Public health authorities and healthcare providers are increasingly recognizing the importance of raising awareness about long COVID, which is what our nonprofit does. Destigmatizing the condition, advocating for appropriate resources and support for those affected. Long COVID can have a significant impact on mental health, with many individuals reporting symptoms of anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. And if you are in the hospital, a medical professional, and I could almost guarantee from my experience that you will have all the above that we just talked about, because it was traumatic. And I wasn't a depressed person, didn't have anxiety before, but take your air away and a little anxiety comes up, okay? A result of all those prolonged illnesses and ongoing symptoms, those are the results and things that they're finding are coming up with people. Some individuals with long COVID may experience challenges in accessing appropriate healthcare and support, as the condition is still not well understood by many healthcare providers, and there may be limited resources available for managing long-term symptoms. And I mentioned that before. Seems to be the song all the long COVID are singing, is that they can't find the help they need because there's just not enough data and research. It's just a new disease and people just don't get the help that they need. Or the wait list is 18 months long. It's 3 or 4 states away or across the country. So all those kind of issues too. So full for those doctors and healthcare professionals who have stepped up to the plate and took this as a priority in their medical practice because it's so needed. Long COVID has led to a growing interest in research on the long-term effects of viral infections and the potential mechanisms underlying persistent symptoms, which may have implications for understanding and managing other post-viral symptoms. Individuals with long COVID may benefit from a holistic approach to care that addresses physical, mental, and emotional well-being, including strategies for managing symptoms, improving sleep, reduce stress, and enhancing overall quality of life. And those just some of the things that we probably should be doing anyway to take care of our health. So if you're listening and it's not long COVID you have, but maybe you have something else that is of autoimmune. There's my COVID brain. That still happens 2.5 years later for me. I can't quite think of the word, and then I'll think of the letter, and then I can usually spit it out. But it's like your brain's all rewired. Anyway, side note, I digress. Long COVID has highlighted the importance of public health measures to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and reduce the risk of long-term complications, underscoring the need for vaccination. This is not a political platform for or against. Mask wearing, physical distancing, and other preventative measures. As our understanding of long COVID continues to evolve, it's important for healthcare providers, policymakers, and the general public to remain informed and supportive of individuals with this challenging condition, and to advocate for further research, resources, and care for those affected. So if you have any pull with your policy, legislature, anything in your state, country, wherever you're listening to this, advocate for these people and us people, me, for long COVID, because we do need that help. Now let's talk about, for just a couple minutes here, what we can do to support and create the awareness, because that's really why we started the nonprofit. I was told in my coma, when I was in a coma in the hospital, to start this nonprofit. So whatever your belief is, mine's God, I knew when I was released that I needed to do this. And I will share, I had a magazine at the time, and I did not, it was a local magazine. I wouldn't let my writers write the word COVID in my magazine. We just started it a year earlier. It was a quarterly, and we were on our 4th issue. And if they got a quote from somebody, which, that was everybody's life back then in 2021, that said COVID, I made them go back and get a different word. I just wouldn't give it any energy. And then here I have this experience. I'm told to start this nonprofit, and it's on long COVID. So go figure. About fun. Long COVID's not fun. And yet there's so many suffering that I knew in my heart that was what I needed to do. And within about 3 months, of course, I was still pretty sick when we started the nonprofit. I had a couple attorneys, and we got everything worked out. And the miracle is we got our 501c3 for 25 days. So I incorporated it, and then a few months later, we got the 501c3 when I applied. But 25 days is unheard of if you've ever done that. So back to the awareness piece. Okay. How we can do the awareness is people that have long COVID, share your stories. I know they're personal. People learn, people love people's stories. So share those. Individuals with living with long COVID, share your experiences through social media, blogs, or support groups. And that will help raise awareness and help others understand the challenges that you're facing. Very important. Educate others by spreading the correct information about long COVID through conversations with friends, family, and colleagues, as well as by sharing resources and articles and reputable sources of information. I'm grateful when people send me through social media or email stories or articles, things that they feel like will help. I love it. I think it's super important. And I tuck those away and share them with people when it's appropriate. Kit for research and resources, support efforts to fund research on long COVID. So maybe think about something. If you're a business, you need a tax write-off. There are a few of 501c3s, including ours, Adventure Bucket Wish Foundation, where you get a tax write-off by giving that donation. What a better place to help support a group that's creating something that's new. It's not the same thing. And I don't take a salary on our nonprofit. That's not why I set it up. And I just want to create awareness. We help give people experiences that they wouldn't have been able to do without. And that's really just what we're about. Help participate in awareness campaigns and promote campaigns and events aimed at raising awareness about long COVID, such as virtual conferences, webinars, or social media campaigns. Support organizations, donate or volunteer with organizations that focus on long COVID research, advocacy, and support services for individuals living with the condition. Encourage empathy and understanding. Help combat stigma and misinformation about long COVID by promoting empathy, understanding, and support for individuals who are experiencing ongoing symptoms. Stay informed, stay updated on the latest developments in long COVID research, treatment options, and support services to better understand the condition, and advocate for those affected. Advocate for policy changes, support policies that prioritize long COVID research, access to care, and support services for individuals living with persistent symptoms. By taking these actions, individuals can help raise awareness about long COVID, support by affecting the condition, and contribute the efforts to improve research, care, and resources for individuals living with long-term effects of COVID-19. Thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. And we're grateful that you are willing to listen because, again, this isn't a fun subject and nobody wants to hear about COVID anymore. The ones with long COVID get it. They wish they could not have it either. But if we can just be there for support, be willing to listen, ask people that have long COVID how they're doing. You don't always need the big long story, but sometimes just knowing someone cares enough to ask and support you and their efforts to get better. That's what really matters. We'll see you next time on the next podcast. Thanks for joining us. Bye for now.
Our biggest dream and desire is to bring lasting impact to the lives of the millions experiencing long COVID effects and symptoms all across the world. Please join us. You can reach out to us at adventurebucketwish.org.